Some very wet weather here in Texas on this last day of April. The dreary weather we're seeing in Texas being caused by a combination of cool, dry air flowing in from the north with a flow of rich tropical moisture coming in from the south. That's being caused by low pressure in the mid-levels out to the west. That's it right there south of El Paso this morning, and running the charts forward over the next day or two, that low is very slow to lift northeast, but finally around Sunday, early Sunday, it passes Waco, Dallas, and Shreveport, heading to the northeast. And that should be pretty much out of the picture by the day Sunday, and then we get into a little bit more troughing towards the middle of next week. And just going very quickly over that surface chart, more cold air coming into the northeast U.S. Well, that's not much of a surprise. They've been clobbered by cold air for the past 4 or 5 months. Still 30s and 40s in that region. And then out west, of course, the heat returns again. And check out some of those temperatures. 86 in Elko, 86 in southern Idaho, and 84 in Reno. So we are definitely heading into late spring in that part of the country. And then just a quick check up north to see what's happening. Wow, some very hot weather in Montana. Look at that, 87 to 86 in eastern Montana, contrasting with this 28-degree reading in northern Saskatchewan. So it's very spring-like in the Canadian prairies, but looking up to the north, yeah, that cold air is coming to a close. Don't see any sub-zero temperatures. The coldest reading I'm seeing is near Cambridge Bay and Coppermine with 9 degrees. Still a little bit nippy there in Alaska. Some snow coming down around Fort Yukon. However, this is pretty common this time of year as far as a cold day, and we should see that start to warm up over the next week or so. There's the data for Fairbanks. Since it's near May 1st, we basically split the difference between April and May. So typically we would expect a high of about 52 degrees and a low of about 28 degrees. So it is on the cold side, but we're not breaking any records. Pretty stagnant conditions there in Europe. We've seen a cold front gradually sag south over the past couple of days. And what we're looking for now, down in Spain, a wave developing, and that will move up the boundary kind of as a little ripple. And by tomorrow, we should see some showers, maybe a few weak thunderstorms, anywhere from Italy out towards Slovenia. And maybe by Sunday, that'll be moving up into Ukraine. But very cold conditions on the backside, 40s, and even a few 30s. Look at that evening reading there in Dublin, 34 degrees. So that's probably a good place to spend your Friday night indoors at the pub. The thunderstorm insanity has certainly ramped down. Marginal risk down there around Corpus Christi, down to Brownsville, and the day 2 outlook, not looking for anything big on that. Focused mostly on South Texas, I-35 corridor, and then the day 3 outlook putting some stronger thunderstorms down in Mississippi and Louisiana. So maybe some problems there for New Orleans, Baton Rouge, and Jackson. And that would be for Sunday. Something interesting I wanted to show you. The GFS model from 3 days ago on Tuesday was showing highs in the 100s for Sunday. And I warned you that that was probably not going to happen. Check out what the GFS has now for the very same time. 80s and a few low 90s, and the only hundreds that we're seeing down there near Laredo. So that shows you the problems that we have forecasting more than about 5 to 6 days in advance. And that has significant effects on the possibilities for severe weather. That means a lot of the other fields can be out to lunch. So that's kind of a reminder to be careful when you get out to the 1 week point and try not to read too much into the models. When we're talking about that 1 week point, it's better to look at the hemispheric pattern to get a ballpark idea what's going to happen. And what we see at the end of next week, this is showing a progressive pattern. Looks like maybe a trough out east, trough out west, and a ridge over the Rockies. So that tells us probably dry conditions in the central and northern plains, maybe some hot weather in the Rockies and Great Basin, and that's about all that we can really figure out here. But it looks like going into the remainder of early May, probably stormy at some point on the Great Plains, but we don't know the exact days. But this model here indicating mostly a focus on the central plains. There's those messy conditions in Texas, lots of broken to overcast, and you can see a very deep southerly flow, but superimposed on that in easterly drift, and that's being caused by that flow coming up from the Midwest. High pressure pushing cold air southward towards the Gulf Coast. And some of the patterns are more clear on the water vapor imagery. You can really see that cutoff flow south of El Paso at this hour going into early evening. Looks like that is centered roughly 100, 150 miles south of El Paso. And out to the east, we have the main baroclinic zone, and that's where we would expect frontal development to take place if we could find a stagnant front hanging around that area. Checking the surface plots, we do see a cold dome covering much of North Texas, 60s. In fact, we can take the 70 degree isotherm and trace that out, and that would run something like that, outlining some of the coldest air. And that's basically air that's been worked over by thunderstorms, and some of that is due also to an influx of cold air that came in a couple days ago, and that's what's affecting West Texas there. You can see north of that some very warm conditions. 81 up there, can't see it. It's off the top of the screen. Wichita, 81, and I can see 78, 79 at Dodge City and Elkhart. But down to the south, we got sort of a pseudo-frontal boundary down in this region. You can see the northeasterly flow coming offshore and contrasting with the very humid conditions down further south. And that's the relatively pure tropical air, and some of that's being lifted over the top of this air mass in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. Now, you also notice that as we go north, the moisture is pretty poor, even with southerly flow in the panhandle. And that's because the moisture is being choked off by all this activity down to the south. And also the persistent offshore flow has been a problem. Now, to show you the issues with wind flow, let's take a look at the pressure gradient. You can see up to the north, 1022 millibars, down to the south, 1016 millibars, and that's producing a pressure differential that brings winds from north to south. Let's take a look over the next week or two and see what the gradient does. Did you notice a pattern there? Seemed like sometime around, I think it was right here around the 7th or 8th of May, we shifted into a late spring pattern with persistent southerly flow. Before that, it was kind of flipping back and forth every couple of days. But after the 8th and 9th, the GFS trying to indicate a very deep, very persistent southerly flow, and likely enough moisture return with that to where we should see some thunderstorms breaking out maybe around the 10th, 11th, 12th. Could see some big thunderstorms on the Great Plains. Don't know exactly where that's going to be, but that's something we'll have to watch there. I think we'll have multiple episodes of severe weather anywhere from Texas up to the Dakotas. So that'll be something for the chasers to look forward to. Well, time to let you get on with your weekend. We've had one new Patreon supporter this week, and that's Jamie Singleton. Thank you very much for your support. And for all of you who signed up in previous weeks, previous months, I also appreciate your support. Anyway, with conditions heating up, I thought it'd be fun to pull that reel of aerial footage from February 15th, 16th, when we had the all-time record low here. And you can see a bit of what some of that frigid weather looks like. So bundle up and check out this footage, and we'll see the supporters on Monday and everybody else on Tuesday. Take care. Bye-bye.